1985, Los Angeles. A 32-year-old man named Jack Reynolds, a simple factory worker, was on his usual route home after a long, exhausting shift. Little did he know, this night would be different. As Jack walked down the lonely road, flickering streetlights only added to his unease. The distant sound of footsteps began to echo in the background. First, he ignored it, thinking it was just his imagination. But then, the feeling grew. Someone was behind him. His heart began to race. Instinct kicked in. He picked up his pace, walking faster, hoping to shake off the unsettling presence. But the footsteps only grew louder, faster, closer. Panic set in. He was no longer just walking. He was running towards safety, towards the comfort of his home. But safety never came. Out of the darkness, an unknown assailant struck. Jack was thrown to the ground, his vision blurring. In the chaos of the moment, only one thought rang in his head. Who was this man?
Richard Ramirez was born Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez on February 29, 1960, in El Paso, Texas, to Mexican immigrant parents, Mercedes Munoz and Julian Tapia Ramirez. He was the youngest of 5 children, and his family life was fraught with instability and violence. His father, a railway laborer, was an alcoholic known for his violent temper, which often resulted in physical abuse directed at his wife and children. This environment instilled fear in young Richard, who witnessed his father's aggression firsthand. From a young age, Ramirez suffered multiple head injuries, including a serious incident at age 2 when a dresser fell on him. These injuries led to the development of epilepsy, which manifested as seizures and further contributed to his erratic behavior. As a child, Ramirez was also exposed to the harsh realities of life. His mother worked long hours in a boot factory, and the family lived in a neighborhood riddled with crime and poverty. The children were reportedly born with birth defects, attributed to their mother's exposure to toxic chemicals during pregnancy. At the age of 12, Ramirez's life took a darker turn when his older cousin, Miguel Angel Mike Valles, returned from serving in the Vietnam War. Miguel, who had developed severe mental health issues, became a significant influence on Richard. He shared graphic stories of his wartime experiences, including the torture and murder of Vietnamese women, often accompanied by Polaroid photographs of his atrocities. This exposure to extreme violence and sexual abuse deeply affected Ramirez, who became fascinated rather than repulsed by these tales. The relationship with Miguel escalated to a traumatic event when Richard was 13. He witnessed Miguel shoot his wife during a domestic dispute. Miguel was later found not guilty by reason of insanity and spent only 4 years in a mental institution, further normalizing violence in Richard's world. Ramirez's victims were often chosen at random, and his methods were merciless. He would break into homes, attacking men, women, and even children. Some notable victims include Denny Vincow, the elderly woman whose murder marked the beginning of Ramirez's killing spree; Maria Hernandez, 22-year-old woman who survived an attack in her home but was shot in the face. She later identified Ramirez as her attacker. Bill Carnes and Inez Erickson. Couple attacked in their home. Carnes was shot, and Erickson was raped and murdered. Ramirez often left behind symbols of his satanic beliefs, such as pentagram, which he would draw at the crime scene. He was known to taunt his victims and often engaged in acts of extreme violence, including torture and sexual assault, reflecting his sadistic tendency.
Contribute to a person's frustration and anger, and at some point in life, he explodes.
Perhaps for Richard Ramirez, that anger and frustration turned to rage, which he in turn took out on his victims.
Ramirez's interest in Satanism was a significant aspect of his identity and criminal behavior. He was known to carry a copy of the Satanic Bible, and during his trial, he openly proclaimed his allegiance to Satan, often making gestures associated with the occult. He believed that by committing these acts, he was honoring Satan, which he viewed as a source of power and liberation from his troubled past. The Night Stalker's reign of terror came to a dramatic end on August 30th, 1985. After a series of brutal murders and sexual assaults across Southern California, Ramirez was recognized by local residents in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles. His face had been widely publicized in the media, and a group of community members confronted him as he attempted to flee after a failed carjacking. They detained him until the police arrived, marking a significant victory for law enforcement and the terrified public. Upon his arrest, Ramirez was charged with multiple counts of murder, sexual assault, and burglary. His capture was pivotal, as it ended a killing spree that had left at least 14 people dead and many others traumatized. During his initial court appearances, Ramirez exhibited erratic behavior, famously raising his hand with a pentagram drawn on it and shouting, "Hail Satan!" This display of defiance and his known interest in Satanism further fueled the media frenzy surrounding his case. Jury selection for Ramirez's trial began on July 22, 1988, nearly 3 years after his arrest. The trial itself was marked by numerous delays and dramatic events. Ramirez changed legal counsel multiple times, complicating the proceedings and leading to jurisdictional issues due to the geographic spread of his crime. The trial was highly publicized and attracted a significant following, including groups of supporters who dressed in black and claimed to be Satanists. Ramirez's demeanor in court was often nonchalant, which unsettled jurors and observers alike. He was accused of attempting to orchestrate a plot to kill the prosecutor, leading to increased security measures in the courtroom, including the installation of a metal detector. A particularly chilling incident during the trial occurred when juror Phyllis Singletary was found murdered in her apartment, August 14, 1989. This event caused panic among the jury, with fears that Ramirez might have orchestrated the murder from his prison cell. However, it was later determined that her death was a result of domestic violence, unrelated to Ramirez. The trial itself lasted for over a year, with extensive witness testimonies and evidence presented. On September 20, 1989, the jury returned a unanimous verdict, convicting Ramirez on 43 counts, including 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 counts of sexual assault, and 14 counts of burglary.